The Trump administration has set out a series of measures to crack down on illegal immigration into the U.S., but also to limit the amount of legal immigration to the country. The once rare procedure of denaturalization, which was typically reserved for criminals and human rights violators, is on the rise. And now, according to the ACLU, immigration agencies are strategically targeting illegal immigrants who show up for appointments seeking legal residency and arresting them. Caitlin Dickerson is an immigration reporter for the New York Times. She joins me on set now. Caitlin, interesting topic. So let's start with the idea of denaturalizing already naturalized citizens. How was this used in the past, and how is the Trump administration utilizing it?
So we're seeing a comeback of denaturalization for the first time in a really long time. And historically, it was used in the first half of the 20th century really as a political tool. And we know that because the Supreme Court said so in 1967. It said far too many people are being denaturalized for sort of general bad behavior or behavior that's been classified as un-American. And the Supreme Court felt that that was really anathema to the structure of the American government, where people, civilians, are temporarily elected to office, and they, the Supreme Court, felt should not be able to take citizenship, which is this very powerful and permanent designation, away from people. So they really tried to tamp down on the executive branch's ability to denaturalize people because of this fear that it could be used as a political tool. Now we see the Trump administration bringing this idea back. They've launched an initiative to do it, and they say it's because they want to rid the country of citizenship fraud. But there's a big concern that other people, who haven't committed fraud might be swept into it.
Well, how common is citizenship fraud during the naturalization process?
We're really just beginning to learn for the first time, and all of this comes out of an effort that started under President Obama. It was called Operation Janus, and it started because a Border Patrol official was working and realized that there were some number of people who had citizenship, who were given citizenship, but who had previously been deported from the United States, had come in under a different name, been deported, and then come back, applied under a separate name and given citizenship. And so the concern was, how many more people are there like this? They started a search of records and found about 300,000 cases where it could have happened. But of course, among those are going to be a lot of people who we already know about, who, human error basically intervened in their application process. They're coming from places where they use 4 different names. And so the 2 names that the border agent may have written down might be different from what they actually use in day-to-day life. So it's really hard for us to know at this point. And the concern, is that people who didn't intend to do anything wrong are going to be swept in and sort of accused of lying.
Well, is that one of the risks, do you think, of the administration going through old naturalization files, looking to perhaps deport people?
Absolutely. I mean, as somebody who's covered immigration for years, human error is everywhere. So much of the documentation that we're looking back at now for this denaturalization effort is stuff that was written by hand. Fingerprints that were taken before the government had a universal system for comparing
people speaking with a heavy accent to you.
Exactly. And there are very often issues with translation when people are going through the process of coming into the country and applying. So there are so many different things that could have led to a discrepancy on an application that there's a big concern again that an accident could now result in somebody losing their citizenship.
Yeah, senior advisor Stephen Miller, one of the most vocal senior White House officials on immigration issues, policies, obviously has been very outspoken about these kinds of things. He's behind the build the wall push, all of that. But there was a recent op-ed by his uncle saying that he himself is a product of chain migration. Tell us about that.
I think what Stephen Miller's uncle was, he's really just the latest to point out this contradiction that comes up for so many people in the Trump administration, so many people in day-to-day life. We can very easily point to immigration stories, many of us as Americans. But the point is that Stephen Miller, he's the face of this effort of the White House, but there are many other people involved who believe that, that may have been the process in the past, and old systems may have allowed my ancestors in, but we don't like those old systems anymore. We want to change them.
Let's move ahead to a slightly different topic. The ACLU is saying now that they believe that federal agencies are actually banding together to trap people, immigrants. What are they claiming here? What are they saying is happening?
I think their concern is that people who are going through the process that getting a visa in the United States requires, which is a series of interviews and a lot of documentation, that ICE, which is the sort of police, if you will, in the country, is using that process to find people and to arrest them before they can finish the legal process they're trying to go through. And you know, there's no question that immigration arrests within the country have reached unprecedented levels under this president, that, you know, we're arresting more people and deporting more people than ever before. And so in a way, it shouldn't be surprising that, yes, these federal agencies are working together to do exactly what, you know, the president has said he wants to do,
right,
which is lower this undocumented population.
Well, how are these harsher immigration policies affecting people on the ground, the actual people affected by them?
What I hear when I talk to people is just, you know, a lot more fear, a lot more sort of reclusiveness, staying at home, not letting kids go out to play, not working as much as you might, or trying to find other work that doesn't require you to drive across, you know, your city where you might encounter more people. And so, you know, I think when that happens, you see people with more financial problems and you know, basically trying to survive off of less. And obviously, you know, the quality of life is really affected too when you don't want to leave the house, you don't want to let your kids go out and play. But you know, that's the reality now, is that the president has said he wants to sort of clean up the streets of undocumented immigrants, and so that's what that's going to look like.
It's an issue we're going to be following for a long time. Caitlin Dickerson, thank you.
Thank you.